Yeah, welcome Darin from Heyday Footwear. Really excited to have you on. Shoptimized Theme user from the get-go. Meteoric success. So I just wanted to get him on a call to find out how he did it and any tips you can share with us, Darin, today. So just give us a bit of a background about you and how you got into e-commerce, just to kick off with.
Sure. I'm an industrial designer by trade, and I started as a toy designer for Marvel Comics in the 90s and then transitioned into athletic footwear. And I was a corporate designer for about 10 years. I started with High Tech Sports doing outdoor stuff. Then I went to Donna Karan for about literally a month. And then I went to Puma, and I was Puma for 4 years. And ended up my corporate career as a senior designer at Sperry Topsider. I left there after 2 years because even though I was enjoying doing boat shoes, my heart was really in athletics and lifestyle. Yeah. So I left my cushy corporate job, freelanced for a year or two, and then decided I really ought to have my own brand because I know better than everyone else.
Yeah.
So so I started Heyday 10 or 11, I guess I actually started development about 11 years ago.
Wow.
And at the time, I mean, there was no e-commerce or anything. I didn't even have a website initially. We sold wholesale. So just another cool sneaker brand when sneakers started getting really popular about 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. I got relatively far up the ladder as far as wholesale accounts. I was in Bloomingdale's, ASOS, Revolve, Finish Line, a lot of regional chains in the US. I had a number of distributors throughout the world. I had a sales team. And we were also right in the middle of the recession, and I had, no partners, no investors. Sell-through was not what it needed to be for the big guys. And all the small independent shoe stores would basically screw me on paying their invoices. So my sales team quit because they weren't making any money. And I realized, I'm going to be out of business unless I figure out how to pivot this. And that was before pivot was even a thing. This was 2011. And I read this book, which I have over here on my desk, called The New Rules of Retail by Robin Lewis. And I mention it in every interview because it totally changed my thinking as to how to be a retailer and a brand. Basically, the book is about traces the history of retail from general stores in the 1900s to Sears Roebuck, spreading out all over the country, then to department stores, then to other types of retail, and then this book came out 6-7 years ago, and then it was reissued. But basically, how today brands don't need retailers; brands can go to the consumer directly, and that totally struck a chord and changed everything for me. And I was like, I'm going to have my own e-commerce site. I don't need any of these stores. And I didn't like having my whole company in the hands of basically a handful of buyers who I never felt knew what they were talking about and would frequently order the wrong product, which then didn't sell. But as a smaller retailer, any size retailer, when you're dealing with very large stores like Bloomingdale's or Amazon, if they say they want an orange shoe with purple laces, you're going to do an orange shoe with purple laces because that's what Bloomingdale's wants.
Yeah, for sure.
Except if it doesn't sell, then Bloomingdale's says, hey, by the way, you got to take all those orange shoes with purple laces back. And if you didn't put the right labels on them, we're going to charge you.
Yeah.
It's chargebacks.
Yeah.
And so I really didn't like any of that. So, I decided I'm going to sell direct. I started the website. I was on some other platform that nobody would have heard of that was not geared for e-commerce, that I was on until July of 2016, and just realized, like, there's no integrations with anything. There's no apps. There's, there was nothing. And in order to get anything done, I had to call the shopping cart, which was actually, I was the first store on this platform. Originally,
wow,
the guy who started it was my web designer, but he was a college student when I first met him. So he wound up, being a hacker extraordinaire, and it basically created this e-commerce platform. I was the first store. Initially, I was getting lots of attention from them, and then once they started growing, they didn't want to hear from me every day about, could you change this? Could you do that? Every little thing. And so they kind of ignored me. And that's when I started doing a tiny bit of research. I found Shopify. I actually listened to a podcast about one of my competitors who had mentioned Shopify. And I said, I'm going to try this out. And I went on. Within 2 hours, I had basically put up a new website. And, I was totally blown away. Like, the App Store, blew my mind. I could not believe that you could add all these apps. So I started doing all this stuff. But I found, it's a really aesthetically pleasing, clean, modern-looking website. But that doesn't necessarily mean that's what's going to sell a lot of product. It just looks good for a designer.
Absolutely.
And I found Shoptimized probably after about a month. I started August 4th, 2016 on Shopify, and by September I had found you guys, and I had hired a new marketing consultant who was working with me, and who's still with me to this day, and we really liked your site, your theme, and so that's what we've been on since then. I'm pretty active on the Shopify entrepreneur groups on Facebook, and everybody's always saying, wow, your site is so professional. It's got so much stuff in it. How did you do all that? I'm like, well, it's part of the theme, really. I mean, I have a lot of apps and I've done custom work on it, but it's pretty much, that's the theme. So, everybody loves the theme. I'm not blowing smoke up your butt. Totally. People love the theme. The designer part of me is like, oh man, there's so much stuff going on. I wish it was just super clean, except it's selling.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you can, or maybe you actually can. I have a slogan up there by Raymond Loewy, who is the father of industrial design. It says, the most beautiful curve is a rising sales graph.
I love that.
Okay.
That's so cool.
So yes, I am a designer, but I want to make some money. Now, am I technically, personally making any money? No. I'm in the mid six figures for the store.
Yeah.
So I suppose that's the important part. But, it's not all about aesthetics. It's about what's going to actually work. That's what I really like about Shoptimized. It works. Fabulous.
That's so cool. So what's your team look like now?
Well, I'm Chief Everything Officer.
Aren't we all?
My dog, who is probably over in the corner, is Chief Canine Officer. Yeah. I have my business partner is in China. He lives and he handles everything with the factories. Cool. Lonnie Ayers is my marketing consultant that I mentioned. He's based in Madrid, and he basically does all of our Google ads, Facebook, Hubs. We were on HubSpot. We're not anymore, but he's a content marketer. All of our email flows, anything digitally marketing is. You
can just focus on everything else then. That's great.
Yeah, so he handles that. I've got a full-time, for me, blog writer out of Canada who writes 2 fitness blogs a week so that there's always content on the site for people to come back to and get educated on. And then we have an intern in the Ukraine handling some other stuff, and that is the team.
Cool.
So
Wow.
it's sort of 4.5, even though
Yeah.
it's not quite 4.5,
But if that's all you need and you've got good manufacturing partners, then
you know,
yeah.
manufacturing is I've been in the business 20 years, and it does not ever get any easier. It doesn't even matter that my business partner is Taiwanese and lives there. It's impossible doing business
Yeah.
in Asia. I mean, in China, it's so difficult. And so I always laugh when I see all these people in the Facebook groups talking about drop shipping or, anything having to do with China. It's like, dude, you don't even know. I've been to China 55 times, and it's impossible to deal with them.
Yeah.
They do not think like we do.
Yeah, it's so culturally different.
They're not problem solvers. They look for the easy way out for everything, the fastest way they can make a penny instead of thinking long term, and I could make more. But that's the nature of the business. Everybody has to deal with situations like that.
Yeah.
But that is a challenging part of the business, the manufacturing end.
Yeah, I get that totally. I mean, we're just putting in a request at the moment for a soft toy for one of our stores, and just trying to find someone to work with is hard enough. And then you got to wait all that time for samples, and then is it going to come back and be stuffed with like rubbish instead of proper filler?
I mean, the stuff that happens there, you would not believe what I have seen there. It's just like the Wild West. There's no rules. There's no law. And I've had great experiences in China, but actually physically in China, as well as dealing with people in China. But I've also had ones that, I used to have a full head of hair. As you can see, I'm pretty shiny right now.
You've been through some trials, definitely.
Yeah, I was just in China last month. The day I left, the factory decided they were going to start playing games. I mean, it makes me crazy.
Yeah, I can well imagine. So when you're creating a new design for your sneakers, what's your process for that in terms of like, do you kind of go to your loyal customers first with the design and get people to pre-buy it, or do you just put the design up? How?
A bit of both. I had done pre-orders for a long time, but more because I needed to generate the cash flow in advance of, to pay for the production or to help pay for it. But in doing that for everything, for all my shoes, I ran into some issues. Some of it is just my assumptions, and maybe it's not actually the truth, but my assumptions were that if I put shoes up for pre-order months in advance, because we have a 4-month lead time from basically when I give the factory the order, especially if it's not a new design, something where they have to first develop it. But if it's an existing design, just new colors or something, it's generally about 4 months from when I put the order in to they have to make samples, or at least a sample. Then they do production, and then it takes 4 to 6 weeks shipping time to get here, depending on whether or not there was a typhoon in the South China Sea, or U.S. Customs decided to, take my container and hold on to it for 3 weeks. So, there's a span of time where you just don't know. Maybe there's a chance it could come in early, or it could come in really late. So when you're doing a pre-order, you're asking people to put down their money months in advance.
Yeah.
Now I've been in business a long time. I've got a lot of customers. I've got a lot of hardcore customers that buy every single thing that I make. They're going to certainly place the pre-orders.
Yeah.
But we're paying for traffic. We're paying, we're doing ads, we're doing all these things to bring traffic in. And then I think when you get a good chunk of these new customers, they come to the site, they see stuff that they like, but there's nothing what they want, they can't have right now.
Yeah.
Pay 3 months in advance. I think that turns, turns other people off. If you don't know me and you don't know how I do business and you're not an existing customer, maybe you'll wait.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll be like, screw this. I'll go somewhere else. Or someone says, you know what? I'm not going to buy it yet. I'll wait till it gets in closer. But then the sizes sell out.
Yeah.
Then they come back. Like, oh shit, it's sold out already. It's not even here. Then that makes them even more upset. It may make their desire increase, but that doesn't help solve the problem right then and there that they want a pair of Heydays, because then it's not available.
Exactly. People want instant gratification, right? And
people want it now. Yeah. They don't want to wait. And then the other problem is, okay, so the shoes have been up on the site. Let's say I put them up in January for pre-order, and they first arrive in April. That means that they're already old by the time they come in. Like, it's stale. People have seen it on the site, whether they chose to buy it early or they didn't want to, pay 3 months in advance. They've seen it. It's not fresh anymore. So that's sort of the problem, I think, with pre-orders, at least for my business. So I do refresh the line. It's not a hard and fast rule, but I'd say about 75% of the designs are new each production. So there's about 25% that are restocks of, core product that is done well. But the problem is still money. You got to pay for the shoes in advance for the most part. But we've been doing more frequent productions because last year I have an angel investor that put in a little bit of money, which paid for production for the second half of last year. So we had monthly deliveries, which really helped. But we've gone through that money.
Yeah.
So now we're sort of back to figuring out how to get shoes in fast enough and balance. Okay, well, we're going to pay all this money for ads. We got to make sure that there's product for people to actually buy.
Yeah.
And that is a challenging part, basically because we just don't have the cash flow or the cash on hand that we really need. That is
the challenge. I had some clients.
For everybody. But I have a somewhat successful business. Everything's relative. I mean, I see people on the forums and on Facebook who, they're talking about spending $1,000 a day in Facebook ads, or, they're doing $3 million in drop ship, which I'm sure all drop ship stuff is bullshit. But there are people who are doing really, really, really well. And I compare myself to them and I'm like, man, I'm doing horribly. But then there's 50,000 people in that group who have never sold a damn thing.
Yeah, for sure.
That my 6-figure business is, a success story.
Yeah.
And little do they know what I've been through.
But also, you're building something for the future, right? You're building a brand, which is the trouble with a lot of the drop shipping stuff, is it's here today, gone tomorrow, and you're only as good as your last campaign. Whereas, you're building an asset and, following and something that's going to have a legacy to it.
Yeah, it's just frustrating when you see people selling fidget spinners and supposedly making, a ridiculous amount of money for nothing. But then I suppose that probably is short term, and what your store doesn't mean anything if your hot product is not hot anymore. Yeah. Why would anyone come back to you?
Exactly. It was interesting what you were saying earlier about the challenges with like pre-orders and being in retailers and stuff like that. Because I got some friends and also clients that they were creating their own like, high-end women's capes, and
the cape store is real.
The cape store. That's their products on our demo store. But
I thought that was just your demo store. I didn't realize that was an actual thing.
Yeah, they're doing really well. But they've been through a lot of similar challenges to you, like obviously finding the manufacturers and everything else. But they were really focused last year on getting into all the high-end retailers in London and a few other places, which they did. But they had exactly the same experience with you, whereas like the margins were absolutely killed and the demands that were put on them and trying to manage the cash flow of that was just an absolute nightmare. So they've actually reverted back to being solely online now and just doing the pre-order model, because that's what worked for them. That's what got them off the ground. And, you know, they're just building on that now. And they've got a really hardcore following as well. Same with you, that people just, they will literally buy, they've got a hardcore crew of people that will literally buy anything that they put out there. Like every new design they come up with, they're like, they'll have it.
Yeah, those are the people you got to nurture.
Yeah.
I just had a customer, one of my top customers. This guy literally buys every single thing that I make. And he was just texting me this morning, because I am that accessible to my customer, saying, you know, when are you going to have these new ones in my size? So I was texting back with him and like, hey, you know, we'll have this stuff in March. And I said, what kind of discount can you give me? Now this guy he buys everything. So, you know, that short-term thinking of, oh, well, I don't want to give up any money. Like, got to. So I gave him a discount. Yeah. And he's like, oh, well, hey, by the way, would you also throw in this other shoe? And with this guy, it's like, yeah, no problem. Yeah. I'll give you the shoe for free, because I know he literally buys every single shoe that I make. So, okay, I'll lose $100. Yeah. But you got to think long term. This guy's lifetime value is in the thousands of dollars. And you just need to think long term about how to keep those types of customers really happy. Yeah. And if that means I got to throw the guy, you know, a discount or a free pair of shoes, or text at, you know, 10 o'clock at night or 7 o'clock in the morning, that's how I do business. Yeah, exactly. People like that. People can't believe that they're talking to the owner of the company on the phone, or that, you know, hey, that's me in all the YouTube videos. That's you? Talking to you? I can't believe it. Well, it's amazing when you can bridge that gap as well, right? That's how you get people to come back is, you know, doing business in an authentic way. Like, they're not talking to a customer service rep reading something off a script. They're talking to the owner, and I'm telling them, like, maybe I'm telling them stuff I shouldn't even be telling them about the business. Yeah. People want to know who they're doing business with. Yeah, I think that's a big thing a lot of people miss in the online thing, is they think they can hide behind their stores and not give that personal touch and you know, being in touch with their customers. And I think that's a big mistake. A lot of kind of the gurus, so to speak, are teaching out there, is that you can have this business and it's hands off, and you know, you can just throw these ads up, sell this stuff and walk away. It's not like that. People buy from people at the end of the day. It's not, you know, they're not buying from the website. They're buying your About Us page, your brand values, and your value proposition, and the more connected they can feel to you, the better you're going to do. So, absolutely. I always use this as an example that when I go to Whole Foods Market and you ask someone there, hey, where's artisanal cheese? They're not going to say, oh, it's in aisle 13. They're going to say, hey, thanks. Let me walk you down there and I'll show you. And while I'm walking there, I'm going to tell you about the product. And then I'm going to wait there until you have what you need. And by the way, do you want to try it? I'll open up the package. That's the type of customer service that gets me excited. Yeah. You get that at Whole Foods. You get that at the Apple Store. You get that on Zappos. Yeah. But, you know, where someone is really being helpful and going out of their way to talk to you and show you and not really a hard sell, but just being informative and friendly. And that's something that you really don't even see much in actual retail, let alone online. So I feel like the way I do business is as much of a selling point for the brand as the design of the shoes. People love the look of the shoes, but they also like dealing with Darin Hager. Yeah, absolutely. You know, it'd be a very different business without you, right? Like, you know, that it's more of a commodity without, you know, your passion and values behind it. So I think it's a really important thing in brand building that a lot of people completely miss. You know, they're just focused on, like, you know, have I got a cool logo, and more to it than that.
Yeah, way more to it. So in terms of, let's switch gears a little bit. In terms of like, how you've built the site and, growing the traffic and all that sort of stuff, what have you found to be your most successful strategies for that?
Lonnie is my marketing consultant. He has done a lot in our ad campaigns and on Facebook and Google PLAs. One thing that just worked amazingly well this week, and I don't know how because that's his job, but doing PLAs with video. Like one particular model, we sold like 10 pairs in a couple days of one model. I'm like, Lonnie, how did we just sell all those great tactical trainers?
Yeah.
It's like new ad set that I'm doing. It's a PLA with video. There's all sorts of tiny little things you can find. You just need someone who knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
Or like if my only job was designing the shoes, then maybe I'd have more time to delve into Facebook and how it really works. But I'm chief everything officer. I literally do everything.
Yeah.
And I also have ADD. So I'm like, oh, there's a shiny object over there. Let's go that way. It's just,
I can relate to that.
there's too much going on. So I need someone who, that's their thing is doing the advertising, because I can do the creative.
Yeah.
I cannot wrap my head around all the little things that go into it. So I need someone else to do it. So sometimes you just have to delegate.
Yeah, for sure.
I hate delegating. I like to do everything myself. But to grow, you got to let other people handle stuff where that's their expertise. The challenging part is finding people who are not crooks. Who are not looking to screw you, which
steal your business. Yeah.
There's people out there that are thieves. And you really have to be careful. I had an SEO guy right before I met Lonnie.
Yeah.
He recommended from a friend. The guy wound up stealing almost $2,000 from me. Never logged into the site to do any SEO.
Oh my God.
Kept giving me an excuse or assuming that I didn't know what I was talking about. He literally did nothing, but insisted that I had to keep sending him money.
Yeah.
And after 2 months, I was like, are you fucking kidding me? You haven't done anything. I can see that you have not logged in to Shopify. Don't tell me that you're doing things.
Yeah.
You're not. This guy came recommended. Like, you really have to be careful who you do business with.
Oh man, for sure. I've been ripped off a lot of times. And that,
sucks, especially if you're, a relatively honest person. You just don't think that people are gonna act that way in this day. But
exactly.
They do.
It's interesting what you're saying about the delegating, but letting go of the control thing, because I've always found that quite hard as well. Because you can't, in your head, you kind of think, well, I want it done my way. But I was listening to one of Russell Brunson's podcasts this morning, and he was saying he's really going through a thing now where he's trying to remove himself from the business and hire people that are actually 10 out of 10 at their superpower. Whereas, as the chief everything officer, you're probably like a 6 or 7 out of 10 at lots of different things that you had to learn along the way because you're bootstrapping. But actually, the better thing to do is just to find someone who's amazing at SEO, for example, or running Facebook ads like Lonnie, and just give it to them. And then it frees you up to do other stuff and concentrate on your superpower. But, the scary thing is like, it's getting to that point where you can support, 10 other people maybe that are doing all those little things that you used to do, like the copywriting, the design, building the store, whatever it is.
And it's still scary. And I have those people, and it's still sometimes like, oh my God, what if they don't do it the way I want to do it? Sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
For service. I'll have to wait. It is just difficult to let go. And I've people have talked to me about getting a VA. Yeah. I still can't let go of the stuff that I'm doing that a VA would do. Yeah. I just cannot. I can't do it yet. But lots of people have success with VAs. I just can't commit to doing it yet.
Yeah, I mean, you might get lucky with the first one, but my experience is, you know, you may have to go through hire several to find one that gets it. Because again, you know, especially if you're hiring overseas, there's little cultural nuances, and and you have expectations, and you forget that they don't know everything you know about your business and all the experience you've collected along the way. So it's hard.
Yeah, but then you do occasionally find people who either really know what they're doing or learn really quickly, and those are the people you got to kind of hold on to.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool, man. So any parting tips for anyone that you think, like, if anyone's just starting out, or you know, in a place where they're thinking about starting their own brand, maybe they've been drop shipping and they've kind of found a little pocket of products that they're doing really well with, and they're thinking maybe we should start doing our own private label on them, or any parting tips?
Go to where your manufacturer is.
Yeah.
You know, generally, the experience has shown me that if you make the effort to go to China and show up at the factory, they tend to appreciate that. And maybe they're less likely to try to put something over on you. But you really do, right? In order to really understand the nuances of the whole process, you need to be there. You need to see it happening. You need to go look for materials in this, at the source. You just have to be there. It opens your eyes up to a lot. It's very hard to do everything remotely and hope that you're going to get the best possible experience. So if you're in a product-based business, you need to go to where the manufacturing is, and then you also need to really be a part of the community that your customer is in. In the past, I'm in the fitness market now, so bodybuilding and stuff, but in the past, the shoes were like a hip-hop dance sneaker for like professional hip-hop dancers. But I don't dance. I used to go to all the dance expos. I'm a dancer. I could not really relate. I appreciated what they did, but I wasn't a dancer. And maybe they knew that. Then I got into bodybuilding market. I trained really hard for a year or two, had some injuries, experimented with other types of athletic endeavors, found boxing 2 years ago. I'm not really lifting weights anymore, but I box several times a week. So I have that authenticity as an athlete. I just posted video of my very first fight that I did on Saturday night, and showing that kind of motivational, like, this was my first fight. I worked for it for 2 years.
Hey, Darin. Sorry about that, man.
Oh, it's all right.
So, I think I got the gist of that last thing about, me seeing their eyeball to eyeball with them, right? I think that's the most important part. And I think they'll take you more seriously if you show up as well, right? And you probably get better pricing and have a better relationship in the long run.
That would be the thinking. That doesn't always happen, but that's what should happen. And the other thing is to also get out there with your customers, where your customers are. Heyday is a fitness brand, so I'm in the gym. I box. You have to be pushing the brand where the customers are. So you need to be where the customers are, and you need to be where the manufacturing is. And then you can get those two prongs of a three-legged stool, then you're the middle one, then you should be okay. Yeah, totally. Well, thanks so much, dude. Really appreciate your time. I think my pleasure.
Super inspirational for anyone that's going through the process of trying to start out online and also not start their own brand. So I think it's really cool. And I'll be tracking you, seeing how things are going. And I'll see you in the groups.
Got it, Bradley. Thank you so much for everything. I love the theme. I'm always mentioning Shoptimized, and I do a lot of podcast interviews and stuff, and Shoptimized always comes up because they always want to know, what's the secret to the website, and
That's awesome, man.
Always
Appreciate
having
it.
them.
All
No
right.
problem.
I'll see you soon.
All right. Cheers.
Bye bye.